Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the No Face Crypto channel. Where does it face a new case? You feel me? And we're going to go ahead and get right into it. I'm trying to clean up the channel a little bit, make things clean and concise. So let's lock the fuck in. OG Noticer, get ready.
This motherfucker is locked.
None of you seem to understand. I'm not locked in here with you.
That's it! You're locked in here with me!
Cloudy with a chance of Dinkelberg? No. How to Train Your Dinkelberg? Boring. No, Titanic. Nothing like watching a good disaster movie on a plane.
I'm king of the world! Oh no! The ship's hit a Dinkelberg!
Wait a second. All these movies have Dinkelberg in them.
In the year 2026, we are closer than ever to a new monetary system, the ushering in of a digital prison. What's important is not what you do next. It's almost just as important to ask yourself, how did we get here?
And it just felt like there was this mysterious dark cloud, this headwind that we couldn't quite put a finger on. Like, where is this coming from? Like, why so much hate? And then I will say, so Brad and I were exchanging notes with the Epstein files reveal of some of the
the Epstein files get a lot of attention down here? I agree with that, yeah. Well, so where Monica and I both experienced, Chris Larson, co-founder of Ripple, chairman of the company, a fabulous human being, and he's a bit of a conspiracy theorist. And that's fun and interesting sometimes, and sometimes you're like, huh? But one of the things that Chris has said for a long time, to Monica's point around, it's always felt like there's just an invisible negative force kind of attacking in various ways, and you're kind of like, what is going on? And he had always said that Joey Ito, who ran the MIT Media Lab, had something out for XRP and for Ripple. And I admit I was always kind of like, look, I don't know if that's true or not, but like we got to keep building, we got to keep going and like focus on what we can control. And as you may know, Gary Gensler ended up as part of the MIT Media Lab. Again, connecting those dots. It's like saying Voldemort. Yeah. Anyway, so it's interesting because Chris always was a little conspiratorial about this stuff. And now that we have seen the public Epstein files, you're like, holy shit, he's kind of right. Mm-hmm. And now what's interesting about it, they were afraid of us. Mm-hmm. They were afraid of us because the technology was ahead of its time and it was a threat. And they were trying to do things to put pressure on it. And again, I don't think I totally appreciated in the earliest days how prescient some of Chris's concerns were about that stuff. But in retrospect, it was real.
Yeah, Chris used to always tell me, hey, people are hating on you. You're onto something big. And I was like, we're onto something massive. There's a lot of hate.
Now that we have established there was a little bit of a waiting game with XRP and Ripple to get put into motion, we can look at it as regulation by enforcement, whatever you want to call it, guys. It happened. And essentially, it was a big waiting game with chess pieces being put into place for the new system to get put into place. And we're going to go ahead and get into that in just a second. But when it comes to this war and the first reactions and the first things to fuck up because of this war and due to the Strait of Hormuz, the oil prices, ladies and gentlemen, these have shot up significantly, coming from about 60s all the way up to about $106 a barrel this very second. And this is specifically with, this is balanced on USD, but this is essentially hit the UK and EU oil markets first. And guys, I do think we are going to see oil at about $200 a barrel. I know it sounds crazy, but I think that is what's going to happen. I just want to remind everybody as we get into this video that in 08, prior to 08, our oil prices per barrel, I believe, was at least 148 or 168 per barrel. So we are on the way to something pretty ridiculous here. But let's get into that further. So oil prices shot all the way up. And that is obviously having a cascading effect on private credit markets, which we are going to go get into right after this, guys. Things are getting very interesting, and I need you to listen very carefully to what's happening. One of the first dominoes to fall, and a very bad sign, ladies and gentlemen, for this economy. This is not something you want to see. BlackRock fund limits withdrawals as redemptions rattle private credit markets, guys. And we can see here that BlackRock said on Friday it has limited withdrawals from a flagship debt fund after a surge in redemption requests as investors worries mount around the $2 trillion private credit industry. Shares of the world's largest asset manager fell 6, and actually it was almost 7 to 8% today and yesterday. Things are getting bad. I know today was Sunday, but pre-market things are not looking great. They're already down like 7%. So what this means is, guys, is they are feeling pressure with credit lending, and this is very, very similar, and this is why I'm kind of worried. Very similar to what was happening in 2007, right before the crash of 08, guys. It told investors it would pay out $620 million as part of the quarterly redemption, hitting the 5% threshold that is standard point at which managers of these funds can restrict further withdrawals. And obviously, they had about 10% of the asset net value get requested for withdrawal, guys. So this is just the start of something that could turn into something very interesting. But we're going to go ahead and play a clip, guys, from Bloomberg. They discussed this, and this was due partially to the oil prices going up. And this is just the first, guys. And I want everyone to listen very carefully to what they are saying here. Okay, this is going to sound very similar to what was going on in 2008. And I just want everyone to be prepared. And this is where I'm going, guys.
It's not clear sort of where to begin. We actually had to erase some of the stories we were going to mention because it would have just taken too much time to update everybody on everything happening just in the last 24 hours with concerns around private credit. What's the main concern to you?
Well, private credit is experiencing its Roach Motel moment in terms of retail getting spooked. Retail is really worried. Retail's trying to take out more money than you're allowed to take out. But I would say also look at the prospectus. You know, the BlackRock prospectus for the fund that is being redeemed right now. It says on page 1, 5%, and it's up to them whether they even do that. So you should read the paperwork. The problem with credit and a lot of markets over the last 5 years or so of easy money is people just haven't been doing that work.
So do people ever do that work?
Well,
it's on page 1.
But shame on you. I mean, this is one of the things that we always talk about when we talk about private credit. And I've had terminal users like, do people understand what private credit, how this market works? That's an understanding. It's not liquid, right?
It's not liquid. These are long-term investments in direct loans, which, you sign a contract, you agree to lend the company money for, let's say, 5 years, and you get it back after 5 years, plus a premium. Plus, I'll tell you, investment grade bonds right now, 5%. I'm going to offer you something else for 3 times that.
Right.
What do you have to do for me to get that extra return? Read page 1 of the prospectus. You're going to have to lock your money up, and there will be a penalty, and you probably won't be able to get your money back when you want it.
James, there's locking your money up, and then there's problems. So how do you distinguish between what we are seeing is that it's just not the right market environment yet for private credit, and so it's going to maybe take longer for either the exits, for the returns, and so investors, you got to understand that. Or is there problems somewhere within the lending and the whole process? Like, how do we, and that maybe people are investing, these firms are actually investing in things that aren't so great, and that transparency isn't truly there for investors.
Now, when it comes to private credit lending, guys, this is pretty much major institutions. When it comes to building AI centers and real estate, etc., they go to people like BlackRock and get money. And, well, this is bad news bears. And I'll tell you why, and I'll explain this clip basically right here. The next clip you're about to watch is in 2008. They are basically explaining the same thing, but with the real estate market. And this just got tipped off by oil, but now the private credit market is getting affected. This will cascade down to everything, guys. And this isn't necessarily bad news bears if you're prepared in the new financial system, which we'll get to that in just a second, guys. But there's a lot of liquidity that needs to get dealt with, and there is no way to deal with it. All right, but go ahead and watch this clip, guys.
Of troubled companies, it's looking for $40 billion in bridge loans.
Some people say this doesn't stop until the housing hits bottom. You think that's true?
I think that's probably correct.
Veteran trader Art Cashin believes there could be more casualties.
This is the fifth time we've seen this movie. And you sit on the edge of your seat and you yell at whichever character it is, don't go into that woodshed. But they keep going in.
The Federal Reserve meets tomorrow. The expectation before the events of this past weekend was that the Fed would sit tight on interest rates. But now some are actually forecasting another Fed rate cut tomorrow. Katie?
And Anthony, I know individual investors don't have their money in Lehman Brothers. It's those big corporate institutions that are most directly impacted by the bankruptcy. So what will happen to the assets that are left?
Yeah, Lehman, Katie, actually has $600 billion worth of assets. Some of those profitable ones, and there are some, will get sold off. The others will get divided up in bankruptcy court, and that could take years. It's important to note here, Katie, that one reason the Fed and the Treasury did not inject government money in a deal to try to save Lehman was that they thought many of their clients had time to anticipate all this. Katie?
All right, Anthony Mason on Wall Street. Anthony.
To what extent, since you and I, we last spoke to you 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Since you were last on our program, have fears about contagion, this spreading to other asset classes, this spreading to big banks, has that shifted?
We're seeing more definitely shorts on the BDCs. We're seeing shorts on the credit market as a whole in terms of the CDX, which is the CDS index, which is a liquid way to take a position if you wanted to. We're seeing outflows from some of the ETFs that are related. So there is a fear that starts to feed on itself. That when you start getting big redemptions, then you have to sell not necessarily the bad stuff, but the good stuff to get liquidity, and that results in just a bit of a downward spiral.
I just want to go to BDCs. It's certainly something we've talked about a lot here at Bloomberg for years. The business development companies, where are they when it comes to the private credit market? Like, how much of private credit are BDCs?
Well, it's a big proportion of it, but they are the only visible side of it. That's why we look at them, because they
There's
actually
some transparency.
There is a bit of transparency there, and it's a growing part of the market. Maybe that growth starts to slow because of what we're seeing right now, but it is a big. If you wanted to get into private credit, that is a decent channel to do it.
Everyone needs to keep in mind that people and institutions are working off of money from the COVID era, guys. So they had very cheap borrowing circumstances. Everything was kind of crazy during COVID. And so now they have to refinance all this bullshit. And they can't afford it. And so here's the issue we're looking at, guys. The private credit shock. In 2008, the broader credit crunch, a sudden freeze in lending, severely impacted private credit as banks and institutions hailed loans due to losses on mortgage-related assets and fear of counterparty risk. This led to a liquidity crisis where even credit-worthy borrowers couldn't access funds, amplifying the recessions. More recently, the private credit market has boomed to around $2 trillion, guys, and we just saw that BlackRock is now limiting withdrawals, which is insane. Fueled by post-2008 low interest rate and investors seeking higher yields, however, experts warn potential shocks of economic conditions worsen as it untested in a full recession without Federal Reserve backstops. Vulnerabilities include risky loans, illiquidity, and possible forced selling spirals reminiscent of 2008 securitization meltdown, and we're already seeing that happen with BlackRock, guys. So I just want to keep everyone in mind here, okay, that there will be a liquidity crisis. And what is the giant factor in terms of liquidity flowing within trades in the United States? The carry trade. So let's break that down very quickly for just 1 second so you guys can understand that everything hinges on this carry trade. And we can go back to Japan and what they just did. And now we can kind of get a full picture of what's going on and the designed destruction of our current financial system to bring in a new one, post-World War economy.
Like Trump and I don't know if you speak the same language, but it's called carry trade. So the Japanese save all that little yen and they buy dollars, and guys like me borrow their money and we invest all over the world. Okay. Japanese are savers. That's why Japan's in trouble.
Japan, and you borrow money at the prime rate in Japan as of November 13th, 2024. Bank of Japan's benchmark interest rate was 0.25%. That low rate makes borrowing in Japanese yen very inexpensive, which is the key factor in the yen carry trade strategy. So the actual interest rate that we could borrow money at, is it 0.25%? Is it 1%? Is it 1.5%? Let's just say we borrow money in Japan in yen for 1%. Then we convert that money into dollars, and that will cost us something to convert it into dollars. And then we go buy using that. So we got a loan for $10 million at a 1% rate. Now we go buy some bond that's paying 4%, and there's a 3% spread. So we're making 3, and what are we doing? Are we opening a restaurant and serving customers? Are we have customer service for our SaaS software? Are we sending trucks and logistics all over the country? Are we answering phone? No, we're moving ones and zeros. We're moving money from one ecosystem to another ecosystem, and we're making a spread.
Right, you just heard in the last clip, Robert Kiyosaki. He says Japan is in trouble. Japan is in trouble. And they know of this liquidity crisis waiting to happen when the carry trade is forced to unwind and Japan is forced to raise rates. It's going to happen. So, what have they been doing? What has Japan been doing for the last decade in preparation for this issue? Quite simply, they've been working with Ripple. But we can go ahead and pull that up and just support that, what's been going on for the last decade. It's ridiculous. And wait till I close this video out, guys.
In Japan. The research, conducted by veteran statistician Dr. Hossein Hassani alongside research experts Su Huang and Emmanuel Silva, highlights the significant inroads Ripple has made within Japan's banking sector. According to the study, approximately 80% of Japanese banks have partnered with Ripple, showcasing the increasing importance of blockchain technology in traditional finance. Ripple, known for its robust payment solutions, has become a formidable player in facilitating faster and more efficient cross-border transactions. Ripple's attractive offering has garnered the attention of leading financial institutions in Japan, a country traditionally cautious about adopting new technologies. The paper confirms that Japan's banking sector has embraced Ripple's blockchain solutions at an unprecedented rate. This shift reflects a broader trend within the financial industry towards adopting innovative technologies. The research indicates that over 60 Japanese banks have integrated Ripple's technology, demonstrating a strong commitment to leveraging blockchain for improved financial services. Ripple's technology, particularly its on-demand liquidity (ODL) system, now known as Ripple Payments, offers several advantages. These include reduced transaction costs, faster processing times, and enhanced transparency, aligning with global banking goals of improving efficiency and customer service.
And here we have, now that we know that Japan has been working with Ripple and their technologies for over a decade, it's very, very crazy to read, guys, that the Bank of Japan has announced plans to experiment with blockchain technology for settling reserve deposits held by financial institutions at the central bank. Very interesting that they already are putting up a solution to solve the problem that hasn't even fully developed yet during World War III. Following this announcement, the Bank of Japan has announced it will conduct experiments to explore the use of blockchain technology for settling deposits that financial institutions hold in reserve accounts at the central bank as part of a broader effort to evaluate distributed ledger infrastructure with existing financial system. The announcement was made in a speech titled "The New Financial Ecosystem and the Role of Central Banks." The experiment will sit within an ongoing BOJ sandbox project designed to assess whether central banks' money can support a wider range of blockchain-based settlements. And obviously, they already know that X payments and Ripple X and all this stuff already works. Okay, so it's very interesting. Ongoing sandbox project, ladies and gentlemen, and we can go ahead and find this specific document as well. But lock in. That's all I have to say.